Welcome to the Clandestine Radio Podcast, Season 3.
Good evening, curious minds out there across the world, and welcome to the Season 3 finale, New Year's Eve countdown show, Clandestine Radio. And we are saying goodbye to 2025 and looking forward towards 2026. And this evening, I've got a listener favorite back with me this evening, the one and only Stevo, my conspiracy theorist friend. How you doing, Stevo?
Good, Josh. Thanks, man. Good to see you. Yeah. Good to be
Always
here.
a pleasure, sir. Always a pleasure. Yeah, I just kind of figured a couple things we could get into, kind of talk about tonight. Here in just a second, I do want to go over our Spotify numbers for this year because there's been a lot of show growth, a lot of new numbers as far as like new listeners that we brought in from somewhere, which is great. I think maybe my finally submitting and giving in to doing a TikTok channel may have helped with that some. So shout out to everybody that may have came over from TikTok. Yeah, glad to have you guys. I hope that you've enjoyed the content. I hope that you'll stick around and join us again for season 4 because I got we're going to change some things up. I'm looking forward to it. I'm really excited about a lot of the stuff that we're going to have coming in. A little bit different format, a few less deep dives as far as like the really lengthy, in-depth research deep dives. But I think that it'll translate to more episodes and probably the deep dives will count for a little bit more. But yeah, man, how you been?
Man, what a year. I guess, has it been a year already? Like that's, yeah, it's hard to believe.
It doesn't feel like it, but yeah.
Yeah, man. No, it's you've definitely been busy this year. That's for sure. I mean, what a prolific season you've had. So congratulations on that.
I appreciate it, man. And
yeah, it's been. I feel like I've been through the ranks of humility this year. But man, it's been got my health, and everybody around me's got my health as best as they can, and better than the
It's a blessing.
I guess. So
Yeah, man.
can't complain there, man. So yeah. I'm glad to be here, just trying to fight the good fight.
That's all you can do.
Yeah, man, that's all we can do, man. Individuals and in our communities and being around each other and supporting each other, man, and stuff like this. So yeah, man, yeah, it's kind of wild. I mean, this year, it just went by. I mean, just
Yeah, it has.
not a dull moment.
Yeah, that's for sure. It's been a wild news cycle continuously.
Yeah, it has, man. I mean, it's definitely been overwhelming. I mean, it's I don't know if one of the reasons I like being where I'm at out in the country, living now, like to stay connected, but I can walk out in the yard, just be away from it, and kind of because I mean, a lot of people are plugged in nonstop, and it shows.
Yeah, and it counts for a lot. Be able to be away from things a little bit. You feel that, I think, like in your soul when you're not stuck in the middle of the city. You don't have all that extra energy and that tension that kind of just always omnipresent there. There's definitely something to be said about spending time away and in the country. Yeah.
I used to notice it, living in the city, going to like Bankhead for a weekend. I'd come back and I'd feel weightless almost, It's just like being in that kind of radio free zone and for a few days and in touch with the, forest bathing, whatever kind of labels you want to put on it. It's all good for you, being out there. Yeah. I mean, I think it helped me keep my sanity, man. Totally helped me keep my sanity for a lot of time.
Those little breaks are important, man.
They absolutely are, man. That's what I tell you. It's work, rest, play, man. You got to have a balance between it all.
Yeah, it's important. For sure.
Yeah, man.
Well, I want to go ahead and just touch on these Spotify numbers real quick. Don't want to linger on it very long, but more to acknowledge the listeners that have come in than anything else, because I really appreciate everybody that's found us this year. You guys are amazing. Thank you for sticking with us. And I'm just going to go ahead and bring up the Spotify Wrapped here, and hopefully you guys will all be able to see this. If you can, that shows our total audience has gone up 45%, which is wonderful. It's kind of crazy, 999% total new audience. I don't really even know how they formulate that, but we'll roll with it. The new followers, total followers going up 50% is greatly appreciated. If you haven't already, be sure to follow on Spotify because it really does help. It helps the show get out there to more people see it and have the opportunity to check it out. Otherwise it wouldn't. So those follows, rating the show, reviews, stuff like that, it really does help, and I appreciate it greatly. Moving on down a little bit, and you know how these Spotify wraps are, so it's going to pause quite a few times, but okay. Not going to worry about the comments and stuff. I really just want to hit the high spots. These are our top countries counting down. Number one, of course, the United States. That's where I'm at. I would hope so. Then Canada, United Kingdom, South Africa, and Australia, bringing in the 5th spot. So shout out to all you guys listening out there around the world. Thank you so much for being a part of this journey. I never thought that the show would reach that far. I honestly had very limited expectations for what this show would do. It really kind of was going to serve as basically a repository for all the research that I've done throughout the years. And I hope that maybe it would serve some sort of function to more like a posterity measure, if you will. But it's been awesome having people find it. So that's really great. Apparently we're a top 10 show for 20 fans. Thank you guys for that. These numbers, they are what they are. I don't pay a whole lot of attention to that kind of stuff, but it's definitely appreciated. Some of that's just, the stuff that the fans also listen to. And these I thought were kind of crazy, but in short, these are the quote-unquote Spotify awards that we got for this year. I'm not sure how accurate any of this is, but it is apparently a 2025 marathon show, meaning that fans listen to it 82% longer than other shows, probably just because we had some marathon episodes this season. A 2025 talked about show, so I guess that's more comments, which I struggle to believe because we haven't got a ton of comments, but those that have been left, I really appreciate it. And a 2025 most shared show. So you guys have been incredible in that area, sharing the show rather more than 97% of other shows somehow. Thank you guys so much for any of the shares. They are greatly appreciated. And that's pretty much all I wanted to get into with the Wrapped. But that's, like I said, more of just a salute to all of you guys that are listening for all of the incredible support that you've given throughout the season and throughout all the seasons. A lot of you guys have been here since day one. And it really does. It means the world. I'm so glad that you guys tune in. I hope that you've enjoyed this journey that we've been on. Every season has kind of been, in a way, self-contained. The first season was very much just things that I've researched and written on over the years, and that was really the goal for it. I didn't anticipate really going beyond season one. I just kind of wanted to put out my favorite stories that I've written on and researched and have that all kind of in a place, like I said, a repository for that sort of thing. And then it just kind of caught momentum throughout the season, and we got more people listening, and I got a lot of good feedback on it. So I decided to keep going, and now we're moving into season 4. So thank you guys. That's 100% all on the listeners that happened, and it's greatly appreciated. I don't do any kind of promotion for the show. Anybody that's listened for any length of time knows that. So all of that is 100% on the incredible listener base that we've got here. The people that have been a part of this, they do all that, and it's greatly appreciated. It truly is.
Yeah, man. Good job.
We had made a few notes, and I wanted to kind of get into a little bit of that as far as some things that we learned this year that maybe we weren't prepared for. If you've got anything like that you want to share, some things that happened this year that you learned about or found out about that you really weren't expecting to be the case.
Oh, yeah, man. Oh, yeah. This year, quite a bit of things. I guess,
right?
But yeah.
Kind of a loaded question.
Yeah, the things that weren't that I wasn't prepared for. Quite the life itself, right? Like, I definitely wasn't prepared to be out of work as much as I was this year. That's for sure, man.
Life will throw you curveballs, brother.
And to see, I mean, just the everything, political landscape just keeps consuming everything, and the news cycle and all that. And it's just like the difference between last year, this time last year, and this year. I mean, this entire year has just been. I mean, people can't keep up, right? Like it's just the news cycle is never ending. Like you've said before, and like it's just people can't process what happened in January because there's another crisis in February. And
I feel like a lot of that is kind of intentional.
By
I mean,
design, man. By design.
washes out the last story so people don't really have a time to process the magnitude of it or the
Right.
significance of what's going on, and they just move on to the next distraction.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. It's just part of the media cycle playbook, man, for sure. I mean, it's definitely been that way. And it makes you really, when you start seeing those patterns, it makes you really looking back and you're like, well, was that a distraction for something else?
Yeah, it's hard to
Was
tell these days, honestly.
Yeah, man. But yeah, I mean, that's what I mean. There's been so much. I mean, this entire year. So I would say I wasn't prepared for 2025 to be. Okay, here it is. I wasn't prepared for 2025 to be as volatile it was without being so extremely disruptive to the way of life for not everybody, but for a lot of people. I mean,
Yeah.
there's still a sense of normalcy, but it was a very volatile year. It seems like, for the news cycle and
Volatile is a solid word for that. Yeah.
a lot of fronts, right? Like, it's not just a politics of one or two nations or whatever. It's just like everywhere, things are. We did have a mild hurricane season in the U.S., so that was nice.
For a change, yeah.
That might be the one positive thing in 2025. I mean, there's more, obviously, but, yeah, it's been a volatile year without being extremely disruptive for most of life as we know it. I mean, yeah, the economy's worse. Inflation's still a thing, even though it's not as bad as it has been and all that. But it's
that's what they say. I haven't really seen any significant change as far as. I mean, I would say if anything worse. I know the dollar has gone down 10% over 2025.
Yeah,
so
that's crazy. I mean, that tells you right there the acceleration of the loss of value, the purchasing power, the loss of it. I mean, it's gone down the charts or not. It's not a conspiracy theory to show that the dollar has lost value and purchasing power over the last 100+ years.
God, really significantly.
112-ish years ago or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people are seeing the struggle, and I mean, you're starting to see, I'm starting to see people, cut corners and read about it and hear about it. It's not being reported on widely in the media, obviously, because that they don't want to cause a panic, and that's largely what the media is just to control the public's reaction, and in addition,
100%, especially these days, yeah. Yeah, more so than anything else. It's definitely not there to keep you informed of what's actually going on.
Unfortunately, no, man.
Not the legacy media, anyway.
Yeah, and luckily enough, I learned that in college and knew never to pursue further a career in journalism.
Ain't that right?
After acquiring a degree in journalism, that's exactly what I wanted, to never work in journalism.
I mean, Operation Mockingbird, and that was for so long dismissed as being a conspiracy theory and a fringe belief or whatever, but it's resoundingly been proven true with beyond a shadow of a doubt. I mean, it's documented.
Right, yeah. Yeah, it's one of the ones is plain as day proven that it was a thing, and it's like, I mean, a lot of people saw that, repealing the whole Smith month, that a lot of people tried to say, especially after, right when it was fresh, it's not gonna, they're never. You can't use propaganda on the American population. It's like bullshit, like that. Excuse my language. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're good, man. Hey,
that out.
Yeah, we have no ending on these. These are balls out.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah. But anyway, yeah. So being, and a lot of, I mean, I get it. What I feel like as an American, like who's been, pretty vocal and about, and you definitely are, man. I mean, you definitely showed a lot more. I mean, just like the, 10 years ago doing the march, man. I mean, it was like nobody else was doing anything like that in the place we were living. And so you're definitely fighting the good fight and doing what you can out there. But a lot of people aren't. And, they're armchair critics or whatever, more or less.
Right, yeah. I mean, that's the easier route, right?
Right.
You don't have to risk anything, and a lot of people really won't even say anything. Because there's so many, I mean, in this modern day and age, there's so many instant ramifications with people's employment. I mean, if somebody says the wrong thing, people will report you to your job and do everything they can to try and destroy your career over things that you believe, beliefs that you should have every right to not only feel, but express. That's what freedom of speech is for. It's not to protect speech that everyone likes or agrees with. It's the things that aren't that way. It's the controversial things. It's usually the shit that needs to be said. which,
Right. Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, you're spot on, and I mean, there's definitely been, I've noticed a degradation of that, especially those that whole right is the of being able to say that, and then it used to be there was a thing back when you and I were younger, there was saying, "Oh, sticks and stones will break my bones," but
right, words will never
names,
hurt me.
right? Yeah, and it's like we maybe I don't know, generations stopped having thick skin because they were being told they were victimized. I mean, and I'm not trivializing anybody who's an actual victim of any way. I don't really want to trivialize that
Right.
word, but I mean, like, it's being abused. People are, and I mean, therapists are there for a reason and they do a lot of good, but also they're there to fulfill their role of being there. And sometimes, they'll they're going to make money, and so, like, they're going to basically give people what they want, which a lot of people just want labels because they don't have any other way to self-identify. So they want somebody to give them a label and tell them they're a victim, and then they can be like, "That's my problem."
Right. Yeah, and everybody needs a scapegoat, right?
Yeah, exactly, man. So now I can sin without guilt or whatever.
Well, that, I mean, you're not totally off base there. I mean, we definitely have, particularly, I would say, even the tail end of millennials, but definitely everything beyond that, very bubble wrapped generation,
Yeah,
very shielded from a lot of things, and for better or worse. And I'm not saying that that isn't a part of progressing, and it could be a good thing for our society in a lot of ways.
right.
They didn't deal with a lot of the trauma as a whole. Again, this is generalizing, but a lot
Sure,
of the
yeah,
traumas that, like, Gen X and further back went through.
right, yeah. Yeah, because there were still a lot of things normal. I mean, that's the thing. There's been a lot of growth in Western culture for the good, for the better in the last 40 years, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
in a lot of regards. But it's feel like it has been cloaked, or like, it's been adorned with some agendas that don't align with the strength of a society.
Oh yeah, for sure. Tough times make soft people.
All right, yeah, exactly, man, and that's exactly what it is. I mean, that's exactly why people in, like, other countries can look at Americans and be like, "Why aren't they revolting?" This entire year we've had U.S. citizens probably have had no less than 10 things or whatever to revolt on at some point in time, right? But as long as we got DoorDash, as long as we got, not to,
Yeah. Modern comforts, man.
yeah, this modern, as long as people are comfortable, right, and like that they can handle discomfort to an extent, as long as certain creature comforts aren't taken from them. But but then at the same time, what's that's doing is that's people don't have that sense of survival, or like our great grandparents had, that went through a depression, where they
Yeah.
they know how to freaking take weeds out in the yard, make medicine out of it or whatever. I mean, like, that kind of, because they had to. But necessity was the mother of invention, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, people now, they don't even know how to. I mean, most people don't even know how to cook their own food. Much less survive if the system breaks down. And that's, so what does that do? That resorts to,
Makes you dependent on the government, which
it
is
does. And then when, if they're without it, they just turn to basically animals. People just turn to the primitive state of, like, they don't value human life. There's no principle. It's just like, I'm going to go get, my chicken nuggies or whatever, no matter what. Or
right,
something, you're
right.
hungry enough, people. So yeah, it's scary, man. It's definitely scary, but I do feel like, there is like the community you've built, and you're just, it's another light should be popping up in the darkness, and saying that, we're out there. There's people out there that do care about, and don't, just because we have to pay taxes or go to jail or whatever. We're not fully complicit in, like, what's
Yeah.
our leaders are doing or whatever, and certainly basically not agreeable. I mean, I know we've talked about this. If we could find our own island somewhere, I mean, move all of our family and friends there, it wouldn't take much else.
You're right. Well, I mean, I think there's definitely a very deep design to removing self-sufficiency from a population. People that are self-sufficient can pose a threat. People that are not are going to be very complacent and reliant upon government. Those handouts are going to be caught in that cycle. And having that is a lot easier to control people if they're getting their only tangible benefit, their only survival is coming from something like that they could cut off. And the threat of just cutting that off is enough to keep people in line. If some people are self-sufficient, they're fine without having government assistance or any help from the government, then those people can be a threat if they decide to stop following along and going with the plan.
Oh, yeah.
But if you don't have that, you end up with a society that's trapped and has no idea how to escape that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's very intentional. I don't think that that's just, a happy accident or something that's come about naturally through, progression or the growth as a society or however you want to put it. I feel that that's a very, like a programmed flaw, if you will.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Well, it definitely is, man. I mean, it's like, there's been a lot of people I've followed over the years back in the day who just interesting, different like channels of information or whatever that have talked about, they even 15 years ago, it was just absurd to say, yeah, the government wants everybody to be able to be a criminal if they want you to be, they can be like, oh yeah, you broke this law, and it could be something totally, whatever. Not, it's just something to pin you on or whatever, and everybody depending on the system. I mean, hence we've got digital identity and digital currency. It's centralized digital currency and tied to a digital identity. I mean, we all know what's going to happen. It's Black Mirror episode, in real life, and
we'll dig into that a little deeper during the predictions for next year. But you're spot on with that. You're spot on with that for sure.
Yeah, but anyway, man, it's definitely scary, man. And I mean, the governments are there to control, and I try to look at every angle too of like, is there a truly good reason for sometimes a little bad's got to be done to do good, but is it in the bigger picture of things, like it's really hard to find those options out there of reasoning, so.
Absolutely. As far as to just answer the question, I guess on my end, the most surprising thing for me was just the shift with Donald Trump. I think, honestly, I hate, no one wants to be wrong. No one wants to admit that they were fooled. Excuse me. But I feel like, and I've said this openly on Facebook and to the people that follow me, I feel like I was definitely pushing to get Trump in there because I didn't see an alternative. That's kind of how we always end up, turd burger versus shit sandwich. And then you choose whichever one you choose. Well, it's your fault. You chose them, but you never really had a choice to begin with. But I had higher hopes, especially with people like Tulsi Gabbard. And, people are going to have their own opinion on this one. But RFK Jr., I thought was a good person based on his history and what he did, and speaking out about some of the things that he has. I felt like he was a good choice to have in there. And I thought that would kind of round out his cabinet. And even talking about, at the time, Kash Patel, leading up to his appointment to the FBI, I felt was going to be a great person to have in there for transparency. I mean, he was one of the big voices pushing the Epstein file release and saying, to look into it. And Dan Bongino, both of those guys were very serious about, getting the files out, we're being lied to, blah, blah. Then they get in there and they do this interview, I think it was maybe ABC, where they look like two hostages. And they're nothing to see here. He killed himself. He didn't traffic anybody. Nothing to see all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And just seeing that pivot, and with Trump too. I mean, it's totally 180 on things. Yeah, he kept some of his promises on the things that, and some of them are important. We definitely needed to control the border. There definitely needed to be some deportations, especially for people that are defrauding the system. So it's not all bad, but it's like the things that he did do, he went about probably in the worst way that he could and still accomplish it. You know what I'm saying? And all of it has seemed to lead down a path of restricting free speech and civil liberties as a whole. I don't think we're really fully seeing the repercussions of some of the acts and some of the things that have been done yet on us, because right now it's easy to look at it and just say he's doing it to them. They're the others. They shouldn't be here. And it's easier, just to push that off and ignore it or whatever. But I think that these are all precedents that are going to come back and bite us eventually.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree 100%, man. I mean, yeah, it's definitely the on all the things you said, like the pivot for sure. I mean, that was definitely a huge rug pull, and I think a shocker for a lot of people as well. And then, yeah, this whole it feels very super rushed, like they're trying to advance the whole, whatever it is with the end goal is, the full, digital imprisonment, I guess.
Well, yeah, I mean, he sold us the surveillance state of America got immediately handed off to Palantir.
Yeah, which anybody that knows anything knows that's not a good thing.
No,
I
no,
mean,
not at all. And
Palantir should not even be given free reign, and I don't know how much people know about the capabilities of it, but it's that tied to some newer processing power and newer kind of models out there would very dangerous. Be a very dangerous,
absolutely,
and be used in a lot of bad ways.
Yeah, I mean, it's facilitated a massive expansion of the surveillance state, and like I said, it's another one of those things where it's not as tangible to us right now. We're not immediately seeing the repercussions of this, but in time, all the pieces are being laid out. And by the time that they all come together to form the whole picture, it's going to be too late to do anything about it. But that picture is going to be very draconian. I just see it all falling in line. And there's things that I did not expect Trump to do. I would have expected it from like the Biden-Harris kind of people. They were doing a whole lot of missteps. And, they were definitely focused on all the wrong things while still constricting free speech and doing a lot of bad things, which is what pushed me towards thinking Trump was going to be the better choice to begin with. And then, of course, the deep state tried to murder him. So I'm thinking, well, if they want him dead that bad, surely he's not going to be with them. He's going to be somebody that we want in there. Whoever they don't want, that's probably who we want in there, right? So it was just kind of a huge 180 and a shock, I guess, to the senses, everything that came after that. I was not prepared for the way all of that has played out.
I agree. Yeah. No, that's definitely been been a wild year, man.
Yeah, to put it mildly. Yeah, man, it's been kind of crazy. I think one of the other things I wanted to talk about on here is just, let's see, maybe some of the biggest stories that have come out this year. Some things that, what would you say is the single biggest story of 2025?
Gosh,
hard to say, huh?
I mean, yeah, it is definitely hard to say, but I mean, it's like does each one just take precedent over the previous one? I mean, the fact that a handful of some private enterprise unvetted individuals came in and just got the entire government's databases and information on everybody at the beginning of this year. Thought that, we thought, okay, well, that's just terrible, but that was not even the beginning. That was just barely the beginning of
what
was going to happen. But I mean, it depends on which level, I guess, and which front. There's so many fronts; they've all been assaulted on there. But the Charlie Kirk thing was the way it was handled was pretty insane. I mean, it's just
that whole thing was insane.
The way it was covered up, I mean, it just seems entirely there's too many things that smell funny around that.
Right.
And the activity, things that you don't see happen in a normal basis in crime scenes and it's the same with, I don't know, with old Mario guy, see, that was this year too, right? Or was that last year?
It's Luigi? It's all, about the shooting.
Luigi.
I think that was.
Yeah, Luigi. Yeah,
that was the beginning of this year.
Yeah, I think so. That's what I mean. It's been
one of those years, man. One thing after another. You're not wrong.
Very active news cycle, right? Yeah. So, but to me, that was. I mean, I'm only one person that has one news feed cycle and all that. And I try to do my research, but that was something that it almost felt like a ritual because the media, the way it was portrayed and everything else that went around it, it just seemed really, really odd,
Yeah.
And then none of it really, after the fact, felt genuine, or even heartfelt or anything. And I don't want to, not to the people involved that were put in front of cameras and all that. That's a whole thing. People don't really know what that's like, and that's people act weird and all that. But still, there's been some more than just that. I think of kind of things showing that's this is not genuine. There's not there seems to be more capitalizing on it and controlling of the narrative now.
It reminded me a lot of JFK,
Yeah.
honestly. It was one of those things where, it's a big traumatic event in front of the whole country. And then the cover up kicked in so fast and so hard and so obviously, because people think that like doubting the JFK story is something that was more of a modern invention, but it's not. Immediately following his assassination, there were a lot of people questioning what happened. And that was a long time ago. This was the 60s. And so people hadn't seen a whole lot of things like that. And people weren't nearly as up on the news and getting into the truth and actual conspiracies as today. But that event was so poorly done that it really got a lot of people's attention immediately, and there was immediate blowback. The Warren Commission was trying to squash all that and did a piss poor job of it. I talked about all of that in the first two episodes of this season. If I was to say one thing, I do want to admit about those episodes, I feel like I may have got some things wrong in the JFK one for sure. The RFK one, I think there were more pieces in motion too that I really was able to get into in that one, but I feel like I had a misstep in leaving out and I did it for several reasons, but to actually tell the whole story and to be totally honest and to put the truth out there as I intend to do, I can't just ignore the Israel angle. And it's definitely a very strong component of JFK, and I feel more and more of what happened to Charlie Kirk. And that's probably going to immediately freak people out and make them want to back up from this, but it's impossible to ignore. From the Dimona reactor stuff in JFK and his confrontations and him and RFK both trying to get Israel to register under FARA, which was a big thing. That was the first president to ever do that. The last one too. And then you look at Charlie Kirk, and right before it, the days right before it, he had that meeting in the Hamptons with a bunch of powerful Jewish donors. And they were really, turning the gears and trying to put pressure on him to the point that he was saying, he didn't feel like he could continue to support the Israel movement and stuff. And was backing away from all of that and really starting to ask questions about October 7th and things. He was changing his perspective massively. Right. And then he texts people and says, I think they're going to try to kill me. I mean,
yeah,
it's impossible to ignore these things. And I mean, I know there's been a huge cover up push, and you've got a lot of creators and a lot of people that I feel are being paid to kind of push that false narrative and I guess shore up what the government is saying. But anybody with eyes and that's done any kind of looking into any of this stuff, it's pretty blatant.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree, man. Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean. The patterns are there. There's enough anomalies. It's not cut and dry, and then to make a big show out of it after doing that kind of a quick smear job, cover up or whatever, and we found the guy and all that. I mean, it's like, okay,
those text messages with his
a lot of stuff,
gay Furby lover or whatever he is,
and given the dynamic of what his sentiment and what he had been saying and all that. Yeah, I mean, and then, I mean, what was it? It was like old BB came out and was like, basically came out that, was it the same day or the next day? Like, we had nothing to do with it.
Yeah. Nothing makes you more innocent than that.
That's not an awkward thing to say at all.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, it was, and then that letter that he supposedly wrote him, and
right. Like,
it was just it's a shoddy cover up.
Like, I mean, you're just trolling us now. Like, you're just trolling us, and
right. That's what it feels like.
They're getting away with it because most people don't care. They just suck it up, and it's a sad shame. Most people say, "Oh, okay, this happened. I got to pick a side, this side or that side," and that's as deep as they get into it.
Yeah, and sadly, that herd mentality, that's, feeling of wanting to be a part of the majority or the perceived majority, which is, what we saw during COVID and all that. It's a false majority. It's oftentimes not anywhere close to being the majority. But if that's projected, you see that repeated on the news, you see that being pushed in front of you.
Yeah.
In the media, that's going to be what you perceive to be the public opinion, regardless of how people actually feel about it.
Yeah.
But as long as they have control of that, they can shape the narrative with that. And I think that's what you've seen all year, for sure. Probably since Operation Mockingbird, if we're being honest. I mean,
sure, yeah. I mean, why would they stop? I mean, just figure out a different way to do it. I mean, that's just how it works. I mean, there's been, there was a. I mean, you can see there's specific data points you can look at too of like when what was it? It was in was in 2016, from 2016, 2018, I believe. I may be fact checked on this or whatever, but there was a lot of media layoffs. That's when BuzzFeed did a bunch of layoffs. There was a few other big media groups, and it was basically just coincidentally when some big public, like federal funding for media, from Obama years. It was something that Obama put in place, and it was kind of part of that repealing Smith month kind of thing. And it was like there's a bunch of money, and then you come to find out like they were probably being stood up. These entire news organizations were being in part funded up by tax dollars, by the federal dollars, to lie to Americans and to condition Americans and program them and force feed them.
And on the incredibly rare chance that anyone who's hearing this, if you listen to the show regularly, I highly doubt that you need this explanation. But if anyone is unaware, Operation Mockingbird came out. And now I'm blanking on the proceedings where they questioned the FBI and all this stuff kind of came out. But anyways, it was the CIA infiltration of the media where they were putting plants in the media and people were getting paid off to spin stories and do things certain ways. But it was basically the CIA infiltrated our media organizations, virtually all of them, and were using that to put out stories that they wanted out there and to control narratives they needed controlled and keep things from being covered that would have been inconvenient for them. So just in case anybody was like, what is this Mockingbird thing? I figured I would at least tie it up somewhat. That was not a great explanation, but at least, kind of get the bones around it.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely the gist of it. And it looks like... started getting exposed. People started catching on 60s, 70s, and then that's when it was rampant as well too. So there was a book in 2019. So but it's definitely been about. I know it's on like several lists of like confirmed conspiracy theories or whatever. It's not a thing that is denied now. It's just kind of like a lot of the other operations, like Paperclip and all that, there's a reason there's a list of operation names.
Right. Yeah. I've seen the files for Mockingbird. I know for a fact that it is 100% real. It's not, in any way a conspiracy. It's one that they did their damnedest to try to suppress to this day. But, there's no getting around it. They questioned the CIA director directly in a Senate hearing, and he didn't so much as admit it as say that I think that this is something that I think his exact words were, this is something that we need to discuss in a private session. So, it was very obvious.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. Yeah, it's a good one to talk about though.
Yeah. So getting back to, I wanted to do a few things, discussing the show kind of briefly. The weirdest episode of the season, I believe you had said previously 10 or 11, which if I'm not wrong, that's during the October Spooky Fest kind of show. Yeah. Is that right?
Yeah, you did a good job in nailing that with the weirdness on it. And that's just like me. Yeah, anytime you get into, when you start, that's one of the things, subject matters like possession and then the black eye, the BEKs. Or the BECs, whatever, the black-eyed children, like that, black-eyed kids. That's one of the things that, like, you're right. It's like you said in the behind-the-scenes episode of it. Like it gives you this like, it's a weird kind of creepiness, like even just thinking about it. Like not being faced with it, but it's completely different than being mugged or something. It's like
right.
It's one of those things that just everything I've read about it and the that I've uncovered, it's one of those things like, there's been things like, again, the behind the scenes where it's like, it becomes a meme because people feed off of it and fabricate and build off of it there, but not all of it's fabricated. It's right. It's
there's something to it. There's on some level
sources out there enough to kind of corroborate each other, in their way. But those two just to me, that's just strange because the subject matter alone creeps me out.
Yeah, I feel you, man. And I reached out and spoke with Brian Bethel, who was the guy in Texas that first put out the story about his Abilene encounter that he had. And Brian Bethel's a legit journalist. He's still in media to this day. I think he's like the main tourism guy for Abilene, Texas, and holds like government positions. Yeah, he's very well connected, very well respected in the media landscape. And he told it as part of like a newsletter that he was doing at the time, just a group of his people that kind of, followed him and supported him as far as following back then, but they were kind of into that sort of thing anyway. But in our discussion, he seemed very genuine. I did not detect any amount of lie coming off. Nothing that would make me think that he in any way fabricated that. And he stood behind it multiple times. He's done follow-ups about it. He's done interviews about it. He's done documentaries about it. Like, he believes fully, at least he believes, that that's what happened.
Right. Sure. Yeah.
Now, I dug into that topic. I looked for everything I could to see if there was an origin aside from that. That's why I went back and started talking about changelings and everything through history that kind of vaguely resembled, if you will, that kind of phenomenon. And it's there through every culture. But you really do see that prominent spike around the 80s where it was just stories. After he put his out, and then that guy, John Northwoods or whatever, who was like a friend of his at the time, wrote him about the one that he had in Seattle. And that kind of like, I guess, opened a dam. And of course, you're going to have people that are, going to get in on that, the virality of it, what it was at that time anyway, and want to latch themselves onto that and come up with a story to be a part of it. But there are a lot of them that seem very genuine. And a lot of people also that I got in touch with that were involved at different points of the media surrounding that, they firmly believed what they were saying about it. So it's definitely a really weird story. It's something that's very easy to kind of say like, oh, that's crazy. I don't believe in that kind of stuff or whatever. Yeah. But it's hard to, when you actually talk to these people and you can tell that they genuinely believe what they're saying.
And the similarities across all the different accounts. You got accounts all over the place, and there's still there's a lot of those patterns, like you pointed out in there. Of the whole like have the permission to cross the threshold. You got to have that whole that loophole,
right,
so to speak, like you said, and then like that's there's some very interesting alignments across like the different reports, and that's what lends it more credence than just just something that's like just a boogeyman tale or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
But it's definitely it's something. It's one of those stories where you're like, do you really want to know the truth?
Yeah,
you want to know the truth of it. It's like if you dive in all the way, you might not like what you find.
Yeah, there were a few this season that I kind of felt like that.
But what about you, man? Which ones the weird ones? I mean, you did them all. I mean, you definitely.
As far as just weirdness goes, it would probably be the Black Eye Kids or something out of that whole October block where I did those 3 episodes about paranormal stuff. And when I did those, I didn't want to cover something that was, I think, probably the BKs were the most well-known of those. The other 2 are a little less known, the Atlas Vampire and then the Haunting one, but they're very well documented. And that was what was kind of, because I feel, me personally, I've had really weird paranormal experiences, so I don't discount that stuff. But I can discount a lot of it. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. Like, I don't think I can, totally throw it all out, but there is a kernel of truth to a lot of this, and it's certainly possible. I can't say that it didn't happen. Those 3 stories all were very, very intriguing to me.
It was the I guess the behind the radio for 10, the episode 10 with the Amherst. Like that was you talking about that story when you were a kid with the blankets in your room, and I'm like, I remember a few things like that. Like there's some weird things. And then even as an adult, it's like there was one house rented for a while about 15, 16 years ago. And, it's not like this happens everywhere. I'm just like manifesting this or whatever. But that place like felt weird anyway. And there was some weird, like it was a foundation house, but there would be like the sound of footsteps across the wooden floor, but it would be coming from the ceiling, and it happened multiple times, and like the same thing with cabinet stuff. So it was one of those things where like there's some, it may not be the house, it could be the land, but there's some energy manifestations stuck in whatever temporal place.
Right, and that was the thing with that place that I was talking about, where all that stuff happened to me. It wasn't the house because it was brand new, but that land had so much going on. Aside from the guy that died in the front yard, there were mounds and tons of arrowheads. So, I mean, it was a very active area for Native Americans
Yeah.
And there was just a lot of weird energy there. Ever since that, I've firmly believed in paranormal. And then when I was in high school, I was going around, kind of ghost hunting. I mean, before that was really like a thing. We didn't have any tools. I had an old video camera, and there was a place near my house we all called Spooky House, and that place was so it was so dark and demonically haunted. Every time I took people there, and I took everybody I could, but every time we went there, regardless group size, anything, day of the week, night, day, something happened. And it was something that was impossible to discount. Everybody that was there experienced it. You know what I mean? It's not like one person thought they heard something. It was violent in a lot of cases. It was something that there was no getting around that happened, and there's no explanation for it. So it's always been a thing that's kind of intrigued me, the whole paranormal thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, man.
Yeah, so you need to don't show up to that house without a proton pack and
that place disappeared, man. It disappeared.
Really?
It was the weirdest shit ever. I was staying with my folks. I want to say this was probably right after I moved back from Chattanooga, and I stayed with them for a little bit. They were trying to hang on to the lake house that we had, so I moved in there for a couple of months, and it was right up the road from that place. Don't recall seeing anything going on, but it was definitely over the course of one day and a night, it was gone. Like there was a little bit of like glass and rubble in the front yard, but whatever they did to that place, it just disappeared. Like it was the strangest thing ever. There was no like build up to it. You didn't see people working on it, tearing it down. It was just there one day when I went to work, and it wasn't the next day.
Gone. Yeah. It could have been. Well, if it maybe you had a sensible owner at the time. It was like, this is a liability here or whatever.
Possible.
Like falls in, somebody gets hurt and sues me, and like, let's get rid of it. Or it just vaporized into the ether.
Hell grabbed it and jerked it back down where it belongs.
That's right. Yeah, that stuff is wild. There's especially in the I don't know, maybe it is just being here in the South though. There's a lot of lore like that, almost everywhere in Tennessee, Alabama.
A lot of ghosts in the South, man.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever been to like Savannah or down in a lot of places in Florida. Like there's some really haunted stuff.
Yeah.
All around Tennessee too. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I remember reading the 13 Alabama Ghosts and Jeffrey. You remember that? Like from elementary school. That was like one of my favorite books, one of the first books I ever got about ghosts. I mean, so there's a lot of lore here in this area. It's wild, but
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I guess there's a lot of life activity here in the last 1,000 years or whatever too. Even when we had the mini ice age, there's people. There's never probably a time when, or very in recent time, when people didn't live in Florida and places like that, and especially near the coast where they can fish and all that.
And we had a lot of like the mound builder society, whatever Native American or pre-Native American possibly that is tied to. I mean, that was very active around here. We've got huge mounds here in Florence, right across the water from me.
Yeah.
So
we got some here in Mississippi. I mean, there's some, there's a few in the next county over in Clay County, but when you get over in the Delta, I've been to some of them. It's been years, but it's a town called, because the Delta, the Mississippi Delta, it's super flat. Like it's really odd when you're coming through where I'm at. It's like hill country, and then when you cross like the I-55 corridor there, it literally just drops off a couple hundred feet, and it looks like it might as well be Oklahoma or somewhere. I mean, it's just flat, the roads are straight and all that. But over by Panther Burns, a little town over by the river, by the Mississippi River on the west side of the state, and you'll see like a big field, like people farming and stuff. And they'll have these big mounds out there, and like the mounds are kind of grown up, like there's trees and stuff on them now, but they don't farm them, they farm around the mound or whatever there in Panther Burn. So that much is at least respectable, but there's no telling, like you said, it could, the natives may have inherited that, the Native Americans, maybe even from an older, society. I mean, there's still a lot of the history stuff there. I think, we're not quite having dots connected quite yet. It's kind of like the closed off portions of the what's that, the Grand Canyon. There's portions of that.
Grand Canyon's a weird one too.
Hieroglyphics in Grand Canyon, right? Like that nobody's supposed to know about.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of evidence for obviously a previous globally connected civilization. Maybe not,
I'm struggling to think of the name of it. Down there in kind of southern Mississippi, Cahokia. Some of my Choctaw ancestors there's like a very well revered spot down there. It's like a big hill, basically, and lore says that that's like where we originated from. I cannot think of the name of it, Cahokia or something like that. I'm gonna have to look that up now. I have to know it. Yeah, there's a lot of, like, what I'm saying is a lot of sacred ground down there for sure.
Yeah, and a lot of it's been, quite a bit of it's thankfully been preserved. I mean, there's a lot of places where
a lot more destroyed, though, unfortunately.
Yeah, they're like, oh no, man, the skyscraper is going to make way more money, so we gotta put it right here, or whatever, kind of thing. Yeah, maybe you really hadn't thought about it like that, but yeah, rural areas in America may be like the last kind of the last place where you can still find evidence of surface evidence or whatever of pre this civilization or whatever, from past stuff. There's my front yard runs it continues on and becomes a military road in Columbus, but it's the old military trail that they used in the Civil War, and I thought about just getting out with the metal detector in my yard.
Oh yeah, man, there's no telling
where we're positioned. Me and my parents, they were up on a hill, a ridge, and so it's kind of higher than all the surrounding ground, so it'd be a great place to set up a little camp or something if you're just kind of hiking through or marching through or whatever.
Yeah.
And this was kind of in between, right here, in between bigger cities that were probably battles were more,
oh yeah, for sure,
conflicts. So it would be like a good place to do it. I know when my parents were, they got their place built and they had to put in because we're out in the country, a septic tank. And my dad, I was out there the day with my dad, and they had a guy in like a excavator, like a bucket,
Yeah.
He was digging the field line for the thing, and he was digging a trench. It was about 3 feet wide, 3 feet deep, or whatever, 150 feet long, and about 3 feet down, he was scooping out. And I was there watching. It was all like mud, red clay, kind of dirt, and some gravel in there too. But there was a charred log that was like it was about this long. It was about 2 feet long or whatever, and it was like it had been like a piece of firewood had been burnt. It was charred all the way around.
Yeah,
and completely submerged 3 feet down. And the only activity on that land that my great grandfather got was he used to farm it. Yeah, he'd plow it up, but he never would go 3 feet down. It was one of those, like, he just tilled the surface ground up and plant some corn on it or whatever back when he was farming it. But before that, I mean, 3 feet down, it has to be a little while. It's
for sure.
It had been there for a while.
Oh yeah.
And oxygen starved enough that deep down to preserve, to be perfectly preserved. So yeah, a lot of history. I mean, it would probably baffle a lot of people if if you just dig a couple feet down, what you'd find, under the surface.
Yeah, for sure. Without a doubt, man. There's tons of stuff here. Every time they would turn the field over where I used to live, arrowheads would be coming up, mostly broken, but you'd find them every single time.
Yeah, one of my favorite ones was during we built the baseball field for the high school I went to, because it was a new high school. And when I was a freshman, we were building it, and I found in the infield where they were turning up the dirt, trying to smooth it out. I was out there hand raking, like the players were out there kind of helping. It was like a 3.5 inch long, like a nice spear point or whatever, perfect condition.
Yeah.
My dad's got a bunch he's found from around here, though. Like we got a river about a quarter mile away down the hill from us.
Yeah, you'll find them around rivers a lot around here.
Yeah, he's got a whole like box of them that he found growing up around here. Kind of amazing, though, when you think about it. It's like, dang, they were making a lot of arrowheads. We're finding this many whole ones. 20 years later, and I mean, most people just randomly find them. It's like, how many were in production?
Yeah, well, I mean, there were a lot of tribes that kind of intersected around here too.
Yeah, sure enough. Yeah, northern Mississippi and Alabama. Yeah, there was a lot of Choctaw, Chickasaw. They didn't have state lines like we got.
Yeah, I mean, they had territories, and they would defend them pretty rigorously. But yeah, for real. One thing I wanted to get into before we do a little conspiracy ranking real quick, which I had on here, was the most dangerous episode of this season, which I feel without a doubt has to be the Franklin one. That whole series, there was a lot of stuff that was happening at that time. Right when I'd put the first episode of it out, and I was reaching out, and I was trying to get in touch with other journalists that I know, and trying to get angles on certain events and stuff. Series of very strange things started happening, like hacking. I mean, I can't even remember all of it now, but it was just weird event after weird event. I had some packages that were delivered. One was a hard drive that I was getting in, and things had been opened, mail that had been opened. A lot of stuff that made me really nervous. I mean, it could have been completely coincidental, but throughout the process of doing that 3-part series, it made me very nervous because I was getting into a lot of stuff that, you've heard about, or you kind of know, or, feel that is probably going on. But the evidence that I was turning up for a lot of it, very disturbing in its own right. But it's got a lot of people killed.
Yeah.
There's no other way around it. There's been several journalists that have died trying to dig in to what happened in Franklin. And Franklin connects to so many other things. It's kind of like last season when I was doing the octopus story. That one made me very nervous too. But it's the same way as far as it has like that. That's a node in a much bigger network.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's the way to look at it. Yeah. That's exactly right. Like, I mean, yeah. And I mean, and that's what I mean. Like, you get into that fickle territory from the deeper end of the node or whatever. And it's like, that's how there's a saying about, like, that's how you're over the target, when you start getting the full on attack,
Yeah, I mean, there were people that I reached out to. I won't say any names, but one of them is a pretty well respected journalist, been in the game a long time, and he didn't mince words. He straight up told me, drop this, don't keep digging. Like, and that let me know that I was definitely on to something with the angle that I was trying to cover with that element. And there is a lot of that I put in the episode, 2 or 3, one of theirs. I mean, things like that, it kind of unnerves you, I mean.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, because there's journalists that are, there's people taking out all the time for what they know and what they're pursuing. And there's easy to make a long list of those people.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't expect what I'm doing to be reaching that many people, or to really be so impactful that I'm truly threatened. I'm not saying that that's the case, but
right,
it still made me very nervous, some of the things that occurred throughout that process.
And it makes you wonder too. I mean, it's like there's obviously surveillance, I mean, whether we like it or not, we're a lot of people willingly, we're carrying around in our pockets everywhere we go, it's
right.
Not impossible to, people would probably be appalled if they knew exactly how easy it probably was to hack into their stuff or whatever. But
for sure.
But yeah, I mean, if anything's shown us, this year, it's like, I don't know if I want to jump ahead or anything, but there's a certain point of trying not to be consumed by the cognitive dissonance of whatever, not wanting to like realize something, because I know a lot of people are like that. Like, a lot of people were like 9/11, they just refused to outright believe that there was any insider knowledge or any involvement, because they don't want to live in a world where the government, people with authority would do
and that's
something,
a reality,
right? Do something like that. The same thing with like the Franklin cover. I think a lot of it is just avoiding cognitive dissonance. People, and that's not to say for people who want to know. It's for a lot of people, the general population, like, they would absolutely disagree with it. I feel like there's enough goodness in humanity that most people would agree that that's a terrible thing. Like, what's being portrayed there. But a lot of people don't even want to face that, right? Like, they want to live in a world where that doesn't exist, and whether it exists or not, that's how they want to live their life. And unfortunately, as long as they have plenty of other distractions to keep their mind preoccupied, they don't have to think about that, right? They can
precisely.
They can avoid that cognitive dissonance or whatever. But yeah, that's the one that's a rabbit hole, though, that I feel like it's tied to a lot of other stuff as well. I mean, like you said, it's the beginning of a node, but there's a lot of other nodes that the channels are aligned or cross paths somewhere. So,
and I tried to kind of dig into that in the 3rd episode of that series, which was really where I wanted to kind of zoom out from Franklin and just show that it's a repeating pattern. It's happened there, and it definitely happened there, despite, a monumental cover-up. Mm-hmm. It definitely happened there. And then it's happened so many other places around the world, and in this country too, multiple times, where somebody's uncovered something like this, and it might eventually lead to that ring being shut down. but another one pops up, and they're tied to people in authority and our government, and that's where it starts getting really dicey. And I think that's where most people start doing the mental gymnastics to get around the reality of it, because if they can admit to that being the case, that we're governed by these satanic pedophiles, then it just kind of shatters their paradigm to a point where a lot of people, I don't think, could really continue to move through life like they have,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, anybody with a conscience, like, how could you, right? Like,
keep paying your taxes and keep doing.
It's hard enough to justify paying taxes anyway, but it's
that's
not
for
like
sure.
we have a choice. I mean, or do we? But I mean, for the for most people who don't have a lot of means to support legal teams for years on end, then you don't have a choice. Like,
Right.
whether or not to, but then you definitely don't have a choice on where it goes, and
That's for sure.
yeah, nobody wants to believe that, but I mean, it's more and more evidence. I mean, I would love to be disproved, and some of my assumptions and what I feel like is in regards to our power structures and what goes on and all that. I would love to be disproved, but I have not been able to find enough evidence to be
Right.
to make me feel
Same
like,
here, man.
to make me feel like I mean, it's not that I try to be a healthy skeptic and give anybody the benefit of the doubt, because I mean, there's it's like there's the thing is it's weaponized now. It's just like I mean, I feel like, well, if you remember Stephen Paddock. Remember that guy, Las Vegas?
Yeah.
So remember his brother, they interviewed him on TV. They were like, he was like, no, he wouldn't do that. He's not, like, he was just totally like genuine, like completely like just shocked.
Flabbergasted.
Yeah, exactly. And then, so then that he didn't say what they wanted him to say, so he's not going to be on camera anymore. Well, the next day they came in like, oh, that he's got a computer full of child porn.
Yeah, he's got kitty porn.
Yeah. Boom. It's like, label, and like, even if it's not true, even, if it's not, I don't know, I'm not here to say either way, whatever, but the guy might.
Mighty convenient timing regardless.
But yeah, once you have that, it's just like, even that brought up like, oh yeah, this guy was arrested for that. Even if you get clean a year later or whatever, you go through the system and it turns out, you were hacked or some shit like that. It doesn't matter. The damage is done, right? So
yeah.
I mean, they weaponize that stuff while at the same time probably participating in it.
Yeah.
Structures. It's the ultimate projection, and
I mean, if the Epstein files have taught us anything, it's that they're really all in on it. I mean, they're going to cover each other's asses regardless. It don't matter, all the political theater aside. When it comes down to it, they're not going to expose the other people, regardless of the
That's
party.
kind of like part of it. You can't get into the club unless you've been, unless you, and that's a terrible thing to even think about. It's like, I mean, I don't fully believe. I mean, there's obviously, we have on the federal level, we have a few. We have like Massey. Massey's very well outspoken against what I feel like is blatant corruption.
He's one of the only politicians that I have any respect for.
One of the only ones to really call out the foreign entities like they are and all that. But, I mean, so I feel like he may not be in the same club, or he may be in that club, or where. I don't think he's going to be in that club. But I mean, I don't feel like everybody is, but I feel like in a large part to move up through the ranks.
That's the thing. Exactly. Precisely. There's levels to this game.
You have to participate. They have to have dirt on you. They have dirt on you. There's dirt on everybody else. So you just play ball.
You got to have leverage. I mean, they're not going to let somebody get to a point of that much control, have that much power, if the people who really run the show, the deep state behind the scene, unless they have leverage, to be able to control their puppet.
It's a brilliant control mechanism. There's no doubt about it. The brilliance in its design, but it needs to be eradicated from humanity for sure. and I imagine that the start is certainly awareness. We can get more and more people aware and just paying attention, and definitely try to find the other nodes, cut the nodes off, sever them individually, and I mean just do what they do to us, right? Like they try to divide the populace and.
Wildly successful at it, sadly.
Yeah. That was a good series. You did a good job on that. It was three, and I know I heard some feedback too through the grapevine. I don't know if I ever passed on to you about those as well. So that's we got a buddy who listens to your stuff, and he mentioned that to me. I don't know, a few years back or even more. I've known him for a long time, but it told me that was one of the biggest, he felt like was one of the biggest conspiracies out there. And it does. I mean, I think so much else is tied to it too.
Yeah. It becomes harder and harder to deny, especially with everything that's come out in the Epstein files.
Yeah, which yeah, we thought, there again, speaking of those, like, it took so long. I mean, I feel like there was a formula to delay the release long enough to where people don't care. The most people don't care anymore.
It's that slow drip of information.
Holidays,
people get bored.
Right before Christmas, everybody's already distracted. Let's just let's do a piss poor job of redacting and just make it look like, I mean, I don't know if it's incompetence on purpose or what, one of the art of war is like, appear weak when you're really strong. Like, they're doing a fabulous job of appearing nothing but complete incompetent buffoons.
It's tough to say.
Meanwhile, we got to take out this port down here because we got some drug runners.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we'll get into that a little more in a bit too.
Yeah, man.
If you're ready, I'm going to go ahead and jump into this little conspiracy ranking thing.
Let's do it, man. Let's see what's up.
Some interesting fodder here. Change things up a scotch. Let's see. Hopefully, everybody will be able to see this and go with me here. All right. So, these are the rankings. And if everyone can see this, we'll just kind of blow through everything real quick. As far as the conspiracies, we've got the moon landing, aliens exist, dead internet theory, chemtrails, 9/11 was an inside job, flat earth, lost civilizations, phone is listening to you, JFK cover-up, celebrity cults, kind of tipping back into what we were just talking about, time travel pics, Big Brother, globalist elite, and simulation theory. And we're going to rank those from D being doubtful, C could be possible, B believable, A all but certain, and S solid as a rock. So, kicking off with an interesting one I thought would, and I didn't make these, I can't take credit for this, but I felt that this was one of the lists that had enough interesting ones to dig into the moon landing. That's where we're going to start off. What are your thoughts on the moon landing? Because I'll tell you mine. If you asked me this 5 years ago, I would have said, anybody that thinks we didn't land on the moon is completely crazy. That's ridiculous. But at this point, with everything that I've seen, honestly, and actually, when I went to look into this story to disprove it, and spoiler alert, this is something we're probably going to get into next season, but I couldn't find anything that proved it to me. And I found a lot of things that made it very suspicious. So I don't know where you fall on that. What are you thinking for the moon landing? Where should we put that one?
Yeah, man, this is probably one of the most perplexing ones for sure, because there's evident, there's a lot of people who say, like, okay, you can get a telescope, you can look at it and see the artifacts that are there. I've never done that physically, but I feel like there would be a way to disprove that. I do feel like, here's how I feel how this is a complicated issue, because I feel like there's the whole Van Allen radiation
belts. Yeah,
there's that whole dynamic and how to get through all that. Then you got people like old Aldrin, who punched a guy for questioning him about it, and he's all astute, but he's also said some wild things about some of the other
he has
objects in our solar system and all that. There's also, and I don't know, because I've been kind of questioning this. It's been a long time. I was probably first pulled into questioning it maybe close to 20 years ago. But there's back then there was a lot more information available, but I feel like it's public record. I don't know, but it seemed like it was verified that Stanley Kubrick was contracted by the U.S. government as a failsafe, basically, to record and have a studio set up and all that. Kubrick was the one, and so I feel like that all that was done for sure. Like, they definitely had, they definitely wanted to. It was very much a space beginning of the Cold War, right? It was like the Soviets and the U.S. We basically created healthy competition to create a race and fueled propaganda to feed that or whatever. I feel like knowing what I know about the U.S. government now, I definitely do not doubt that there was stage set up, there was filming, there was a lot of that fabricated, maybe even as like simulation practice or whatever.
I'll dig into this a little bit deeper next season because it's definitely on my board. I don't know if anybody. I'll point it out whenever we come back to full screen. But I've got the level, the season 4 list of potentials, and it's definitely on there. But I have some serious issues with the level of technology, and there are many elements where that will come into play, which, like I said, I'll get more into that next season if you're interested. But we were not at a level of technology that should have been able to pull that off, especially considering that they can't do it today.
Right. That's the other thing, too. And a lot of the footage is lost. I mean, there's just so much stuff for such a monumental thing. I mean, there's
right. And they scrubbed it. They erased all of it. The telemetry data, everything.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, you know, there's, and it may have been both, you know, it's like we may have, you know, may have gone some point, may have not, I don't know, you know, it's like, I feel like the claim is not able to be supported 100% without, you know, getting a nice telescope and looking at the exact spot. So I would say, yeah, could be. Yeah, it was definitely believable. Yeah, I think it's right in there. It's going to be.
I'm kind of right in between these two.
Yeah,
we'll drop it unbelievable for now.
Yeah, I think that way you can kind of dig into it and just kind of it can go. I mean, I've seen a lot of, like I said, it's easy to find evidence supporting either way, or not evidence really, but claims, and then it's just hard to validate. You know.
Well, I mean, when I investigate anything, I don't go into it trying to prove or disprove anything. I let the evidence itself guide the investigation, and I end up where the preponderance of the evidence has guided me.
That's the way to do it.
I'm going to look at it completely objectively, like I try to do any story that I cover. And next season, we'll see if that lands at a higher or lower spot.
Yeah, that's good.
So next up, we've got Aliens Exist. I know where I stand on this.
I mean, yeah, I'd say it's solid as a rock. I mean, there's something, you know, whether, you know, however you want to, I don't know whether or not it's, you know, if they're transdimensional, interdimensional, just from down the street in Venus or whatever. But there's something else out there for sure. There's something, definitely. You know, how it gets here. It's beyond the extent of what I know about it, but there's definitely something there, and it would explain a lot too.
Yeah, for sure. Dead internet theory, man, that's an interesting one.
Yeah, this is one that's kind of sad. I feel like it's definitely it's getting harder and harder. That uncanny valley, you know. I mean, there's bots have been a problem for a while, and there's no doubt in my mind that they've been used in mass to help, like, you know, sway public opinion and persuade certain narratives and all that. But I feel like there's definitely not. I mean, because hell, everywhere you go, people are on their phones. Like there's actual people on the internet. But the dead internet theory is something I think is going to be a growing problem. I mean, how do we distinguish? And of course, the authorities' answer to that is, oh, we have a digital identity. But like, you're not going to be able to make up a bunch of identities for freaking bots online. Like, that's crazy. Dead people vote in the freaking presidential elections. You know, I mean, like, come on now, like. There's people getting welfare in Minnesota or whatever that aren't even, right. You know, on any kind of tax-paying IRS registry or whatever. But like, you know, they're so yeah. I mean, dead internet theory, I feel like, is all but certain. I mean, there's a lot, but there's still a lot of people on the internet. But I mean, when I say all but certain, I mean like there's enough bots out there that can definitely influence and disrupt information and disrupt the narrative for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And if anybody's unfamiliar with dead internet theory, in a nutshell, it's kind of just like suggesting that the internet is, which it is, definitely increasingly, if nothing else, filled with AI bots and generated content to the point that it's drowned out most of the real human interaction, and that it also does a lot of the heavy lifting in shaping and manipulating public opinion. I think that'd be one way to kind of summarize that. There's more to it, obviously, but for the purposes of this, I think that is good enough. Chemtrails. Now, this is also a very interesting one. And a lot of these, ironically enough, are things that I've definitely got on the board as potential things to dig into next season.
Yeah, yeah. Well, stratospheric aerosol injection, man. I mean, you can just go look up the government papers on it from the '60s and see that it's definitely not made up. That's for sure. I mean, I feel like there's programs, secret programs going on. I mean, it's hard to deny that there's something out there, and the flight patterns. I mean, it's not just normal passenger jets.
I mean, there's tons of like tangential things to it and pieces, but the one thing that I keep coming back to, and I'm always stunned when people don't see what I'm saying with this, but I vividly remember, because I used to love airplanes and jets and stuff. I mean, I was fascinated with airplanes when I was little. I spent my summers in Louisiana with my grandparents, and they lived right off of the Air Force Base down there in Bossier. Mm-hmm. And so I saw this all the time. I saw planes, and it's right by the airport. I saw planes all the time. And you would see contrails, and a contrail would be just this short little piece
that follows the plane.
Yeah, I mean, it would be evaporating as the plane moved. It never got longer. It never hung up in the sky and stayed there all damn day. It was not what we see today. It was definitely not these long streaks and crisscrossing X's and patterns and stuff that linger all day and slowly kind of filter apart. Yeah. I never remember seeing that as a child. And this was a topic that I was really interested in. So if there was a contrail, I was watching it. I wanted to see how long it would stay there.
Right.
And I can't believe that there are lots of people, and me and Mama Misery, our Discord moderator that I had on here for the last one of these, she doesn't remember that at all. And there are a lot of people that I've talked to that just don't remember. They think that maybe those have been there all along. But
yeah,
I know that is a recent phenomenon. I would say within the last 20 years.
Oh, for sure. Well, I'd say it's probably 30. Yeah, I would say. I mean, I certainly remember 70s, 80s.
Yeah, maybe.
You never saw that in the 80s. You never saw stripes in the sky and all that. And I mean, I've gone down this rabbit hole plenty to look at like the engine types. Like there's specific engines that are not supposed to even produce, any kind of contrails at all or whatever, based on the airflow through it and all that. So like. There's a couple things though that anybody who's a naysayer that wants to learn about it. A lot of people say, "Oh no, I don't know." I feel like online chatter. There's a lot of there's a narrative and somebody's there to the NSA or whatever there to monitor any kind of chatter of that and shut it down. Online or make people look like idiots for questioning it and come up with some seemingly logical explanation that's not. But I can tell you from my eyes, I remember a time without it when it didn't happen. I may have noticed it maybe in the late 90s starting and then ramp up in the early 2000s. It's very, I have a lot of sky visibility and perspective. There's an Air Force base 20 miles from me. My dad's grown up here most of his life, spent 90% of his life here, and seen planes. I mean, he can identify a plane in the air by its sound a lot of times. Like, it's pretty wild.
Yeah.
He's always been about. But one thing he pointed out to me was like the ones. I finally pointed out to him. He started looking into it, and he commented to me about how much higher. That if you really pay attention, and I implore anybody who wants to investigate this to make this same observation, that a lot of times the planes that are striping the sky, they're not flying at 35, 40,000 feet like commercial jets fly. Like, they're flying much higher. Like, I mean, I don't know, it may be 70,000, maybe 60,000 feet or whatever. So in any case, if planes are making that much striping back and forth across the sky, if they're not, they're spraying chemtrails. They're fucking up the weather problems. I'm sorry, the patterns. They're basically causing eggshell. They're causing condensation and cloud formation, all that. It may be a good thing or a bad thing. Who knows? I'm not here to say that, but they're basically doing something, and what are they doing? We can't just act like they don't exist. Like, that's the thing that's wild, is people just don't even want to acknowledge that they exist.
There's tons and tons of patents on this stuff.
Yeah.
I shared at one point a long list of all the patterns that I looked up and what they were for the, the aerosol injection and stuff. And I mean, there's no doubt that it's been done, especially weather modification. I mean, we were doing that in Vietnam openly. So, I mean,
Yeah.
to just say that it's not possible or it doesn't happen or they wouldn't do it, that's the most absurd one. They absolutely would. I mean, and I'm not saying it's just to try and poison all of us. I mean, you hear Bill Gates talk about using it to cool down the planet and all this
Yeah.
stuff that they're trying to do out in the open now. I mean, if you're hearing about it that openly, they've been doing it, you know. And I mean, we've got like soil samples now. We've got samples from those that have been taken. Independent labs have verified this stuff. I mean, it's got strontium, barium, aluminum,
freeform aluminum at that.
Right. And so, I mean, there's something going on for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, maybe it's the new fluoride. Maybe it's what they're finally keeping us all docile. Who
knows?
I mean, I did find it interesting that it was back in the pre-Bayer days. Monsanto they've got patents out there for aluminum resistant plants, crops. So it's like, why would you need that?
Right.
Why would you need that if unless more and more aluminum's turning up in the soil, which we need an explanation for too. So
9/11 was an inside job.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe not everybody knew about it, but yeah, it's definitely.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't think that it was just so much of an inside job that our government did it completely and or that they were everyone within the government was aware of it, but it definitely did not occur the way that we were told it happened.
Yeah, it's definitely not organically external for sure. Yeah, it definitely had. There was some internal people. Now I feel like that they probably kept W in the dark, just for plausible deniability, and he played it well.
Cheney definitely knew.
Yeah. Oh gosh, Cheney, man. Yeah, he was definitely the Dr. Evil.
He's like the
side.
Emperor Palpatine of government.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, that one's definitely solid as a rock in my opinion. I'm not saying I can't be convinced otherwise, but I don't feel like there's anything evidence that exists that could convince me.
It was such a pivotal thing for me. That was what brought me into the whole conspiracy thing. Prior to that, I was in the military, and I had seen some things that probably I shouldn't have seen. I don't want to go too far into that, but I knew that we were gearing up to go to war in the Middle East, and all we were waiting for was some sort of a catalyst.
Yep.
And so when I got out in early summer of 2001, I was telling people, anybody that would listen, we're about to go to war. There is something that's going to happen. And so when that day happened, I knew almost immediately, yes, something was off about this. The first plane, I think like everyone, we kind of thought, oh man, this could have been a terrible disaster, some sort of accident. Maybe something happened to a pilot and it just went off course. When the second one hit, you start just realizing that this is a pattern and there's everything that should have been done to prevent that was not done. And it just became, the more I dug into it, the more I found, and it just became an obsession for me and a rabbit hole that I stayed deep down for many, many years. It's definitely the one that I've investigated the most. So I feel 100% firmly in saying that there's definitely components of it that absolutely were an inside job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Flat Earth, I'm happy with putting down here.
Yeah. Yeah. The best I can close anything better than that, it would have to be in the whole perspective of there is no spoon, which looks like we're going to get to.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen some weird stuff, but right. I would have to see some really rock solid proof to believe something that goes completely against everything that we know about physics.
Right.
Lost civilization. I don't really know what they're saying necessarily with this, but if I'm going to read that as there was, a progenitor civilization that comes before what we have in recorded history that was probably at least more advanced than the early civilizations that we know of.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
And I would say that, that's pretty solid as rock to me from everything that I've seen.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's definitely a lot more and more evidence that's getting out and not being able to be suppressed like it has been traditionally about that.
I mean, Göbekli Tepe, push the timeline back tremendously.
Oh yeah. Oh, there's so many small stories out there that never get since like the right of day. I mean, they found stuff and I remember reading about it, like it would be reported back years ago before it was, I guess, was really monitored or whatever. But like even in Texas, there's places in Texas that they've traced back like pre-Clovis. They're like that were like it was a seasonal place, a place where they would come and they found all kind of artifacts and stuff. And it's like 16,000 years ago, and so it goes back. And I mean, you think about it, that's nothing in the time
grand scheme of
and, for people it's not really inconceivable. And of course we're finding remains and stuff of older hominids all the time. And I mean, wasn't it just found some wood, like it was like wood that was assembled, some remnants and something that was like a million years old or something.
It does not surprise me at all. I mean, we're finding all kinds of stuff. I mean, I think the most compelling thing recently that I've seen, not so much about lost civilization necessarily, but about the pyramid scans that they've been doing.
The underneath.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they've been verified. There's been multiple
I'm excited
organizations that have done it.
Like I've only just dabbled a little bit in what's come out recently, but yeah, that's one of those things that like it's big if true. I mean, there's some, and I've always felt like there was, a lot more to the pyramids and all that than what we're being told and what. But yeah, it's that's really fascinating. I hope we get some clarity on that at some point.
I think this has been pretty well established at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know anybody that denies that. Just I don't know. I don't get it.
And honestly, I'm gonna go ahead and just say the same thing on this one. Definitely based on everything that I've seen. Celebrity cults. Cult is it's a weird way to put it. I think
I know. Yeah, I'm like, there's a big range there.
I think maybe that's where it becomes a little problematic. But I think there's definitely something to, like the covering of the eye, the Masonic signs that you see, like the hand in the jacket, and a lot of also a lot of the stuff around Hollywood, like I mean the eyes wide shut thing.
Yeah,
I think Kubrick was trying to tell you something with that, and I mean they definitely. I don't know if they killed him, but they recut that movie after he died.
That's right. It was like 30-something minutes or whatever they cut out of there, 30, 40 minutes.
Yeah. That totally changed, because at the very end, a lot of people, unless you've looked into it, don't realize at the very end, their little girl is going off with those two guys that have been in the background the whole time. Mm-hmm. So they're giving her over to that cult. And there was a whole story to that. There was so much more depth to that. According to everybody that had seen like earlier cuts of it, that just got completely, cut out of the final version when it was released. And supposedly there were people that heard Stanley Kubrick in the theater whenever were doing the first screenings of it. He became irate and was screaming about how they had destroyed his movie and that they'd cut all this stuff out. And like 2 days after that, he's dead. It's kind of weird. I don't know. I haven't looked into his death enough to say, they bumped him off, but it's odd. It's strange.
Yeah. So, no, I definitely think Hollywood for the most part is captured. There's gatekeeping and it's definitely
for sure.
Insiders club for sure. And there's initiation and rituals and all that. And the Black Eye Club doesn't just, it extends beyond celebrities and stuff. Yeah. But I mean, there's a lot of you can identify points in a lot of like actors in Hollywood.
I'm comfortable with saying all but certain on this one.
Yeah,
we'll leave the door open just a crack, mostly because of the wording, and sure. I can't 100% prove it, but I will definitely say it's pretty all but certain. There's something going on with all.
Absolutely, I agree. Yeah,
time travel picks I don't really buy into personally.
Man, I know it's one of those things that fantasy part of your brain, like you just want to believe and all that. And I'm a big fan of some of the like movies like Lunopolis, which shows some like photos of time travel type artifact stuff. But I honestly don't know. I feel like, obviously if there's time travel in the future, that's the only way people come back here. I know that maybe just, if it's like natural wormholes or something, I don't know. I know that I had this like if you remember the Time Life books, like when we were, when they did in the 80s and 90s and all that. There was one about like people, out of place people or something like that. And I remember I read every instance in there, and there were some really interesting reports that were, I mean, they weren't made up, they were factual, and like newspapers and stuff. A lot of them in like the UK. The UK seemed like a really weird hotspot for people to turn up out of place and all that. And people to show up in photos and all that. But so I don't know. I mean, I feel like, there's, for every weird thing that happens, there's a dozen pranksters out there trying to, to get people to react to stuff. So, and as long as people have been making photographs, they've been trying to doctor them and, show things that are not actual or real in them or whatever. So, I mean, the one thing I against, like, I guess if there are, if there's time travelers that have come back like from the future just to show up at Woodstock or whatever, see different historical events or whatever.
Yeah.
There must be a really good reason why they're not intervening into the shit show that's going on now. And I fail to understand it, but again, I'm just one guy. So
it opens up the door to time paradoxes and all kinds of stuff. But
I'd say could be possible, but yeah. That's a good place for that one, I think.
I'll give you could be possible on that. I'm not really sure what they mean by Big Brother. I mean, if they're talking about the surveillance state that we live under, then absolutely solid as a rock.
Yeah, I think it's solid as a rock, no matter how you slice and dice it, man.
Yeah,
the controllers want more control. More news at 11.
Right.
And that's a nice segue into globalism.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, and people will poo-poo this one too for various reasons, but I struggle to, when you think about things like Bilderberg and I mean even the CFR and just there's so many of these quote unquote elite clubs and groups that are pushing this globalist agenda. It gets kind of difficult to not say that this exists. Now, are they all on the same page because of it? I don't know. They're going to rich people are going to look out for other rich people, and there's going to be, interests that align, and it's going to be in service of, a particular group naturally without there having to be any kind of conspiracy behind it.
Sure. Yeah, man. I mean, yeah, to me, it's just, that's 100% human nature. It seems to be, and I mean, nobody wants to relinquish control and power or wealth and all that. But yeah, I mean, it's at least now we have enough information. You can trace back a number of families. You look at the, and a lot, it's still happening. Like, their agenda, they're still in control, basically, or whatever. I mean, they're still fulfilling an agenda. I mean, you look at stuff like you mentioned, like 9/11 and going into the Middle East, Iraq, Iran, Libya. There was a list of like 7 countries about 15, 20 years ago did not have, they had no central banking, right? Like they weren't a part of any kind of international banking cartel. And interesting to see that I think all of those countries have basically been conquered, been subverted, and we are on the last one now, which just happens to be in our hemisphere. And because I'm pretty sure Venezuela was on that list, they didn't have central banking, and I mean they've been through some crazy times. I mean, Chavez was. I feel like I don't know. He wasn't a saint by any means, but I mean he did what he had to do and led that country and did some good things for Venezuelans, the population of Venezuela. And he had some pretty wild beliefs too. I remember reading about before he just suddenly got sick and died, which I feel like, the timing was really odd because he seemed like he was doing fine. And then all of a sudden, boom.
We don't like it when leaders of countries start doing good stuff for their people and don't listen to what we want them to do.
Yeah,
they tend to end up dead.
Right. You can't be controlled by, beyond international banking, group or whatever. I mean, same thing with like Gaddafi. I mean, I feel like,
sure.
Hopefully the future generations will realize that he was literally a saint and probably the best leader that Northern Africa's had in modern times or whatever, because what he was trying to do for not only just Libya and his country people, but the countries around him. I mean, he was trying to make an affluent Northern Africa and have, I mean, yeah, I've gone off that. I know I've gone off that deep end plenty of times before on here, but so that's all right. Moving on. Yeah.
Simulation, I think that's definitely believable.
Yeah, man.
If not more.
Yeah, that's believable, and it's Schrodinger's cat's waivers for me, man, in both directions. I mean, there's that's the big one, right? I mean, because that one makes everything else kind of make sense in some weird way. I mean, it can be explained, but that one, there is no spoon. Like, hell, if simulation works, then yeah, we could have a flat Earth and a round Earth. I mean, two different parts of the simulation can see completely different things, right? And still exist in the same chain of electrons or whatever, the same wave field or whatever it is, whatever the simulation comprises itself of. Waveform, that's what it is the big old universal waveform, I guess. But that one is that's the ultimate question, honestly. I mean, to me, like,
that's a deep rabbit hole. That one could take up a 2-hour episode just by itself.
Absolutely, man, because it explains so much. I mean, the Matrix did a pretty good job at it, but there's so many fronts there to address, but it would, knowing that we were in a simulation. And what's interesting is, you talk about the simulation, but just recently I saw that there were some studies published where they were trying to prove they had made some discovery, and they said they proved that we're not in a simulation or whatever. But to me, it's like, that's hubris, because like we don't understand everything about physics right now. I mean, we understand a lot, but some of the rudimentary stuff that we built, especially when it comes to like astrophysics and stuff, like
we don't even understand quantum.
It's not even proven, right? Yeah, I mean, we don't even getting into quantum stuff yet. And I mean, that's the thing, is I think we're just idiots with toys. I mean,
pretty much.
Like, some of the stuff that's alleged that happened to CERN could explain a whole lot of weird stuff that's happened since it came online. Yeah, that's another thing. And there again, is that just part of something like an ongoing Mockingbird? Where it's just to make conspiracy theorists look bad. Let's muddy the waters. Like, what is it? There's a past president that said that, something about just fill the streets with raw sewage. I mean, yeah, if you flood enough crap out there, people won't believe anything, or they'll believe everything. And that's kind of the end goal, I think, to get people so confused that they're just that much easier to control.
Well, we are hitting right up, getting very close to midnight at the moment. Before we get out of here, you want to give me 3 of your predictions for what you think will be coming in this year?
Man, my predictions, I tell you what, I haven't thought a lot about it, but just my spidey sense tells me there's going to be, probably this next year, I feel like we're going to have some increased military operations somewhere, whether it's our hemisphere or somewhere else. The war machine has been patient enough, and especially if there's any kind of wrap up over in the Ukraine and all that, they're going to have somewhere else to send stuff. So I feel like that there's going to be something to justify, I feel like, ramping up.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I hope not. I feel like, it may be some event to help, that may help stimulate the economy some too, because I feel like that's something that, if not addressed some other way or some miracle happens, like, it's not going to fix itself in the next 12 months. You got people still sliding backwards and people barely keeping up. And yeah, I don't know how much. I mean, I don't know if you follow as much on the precious metals lately, but there's been some big moves in like silver and stuff, some really big, significant players.
And that's always going to happen whenever the dollar is going.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it just, that stuff happens. It snowballs, right? So you get momentum going in one direction, it's going to snowball one way or the other. So I feel like economically, like, all the things that are brewing right now and the way things are positioned, I feel like we're being set up for some big event, whether it's organic or not, or just, some false flag or something. I feel like something's going to happen in 26. I hope not. Like, I don't want anything bad to happen to anybody.
Right.
No harm. I mean, let that be known for sure. And make no mistake. But I feel like, that's always the answer, right? Like, you got to have an excitatory event. I mean, you look It's like you're trying to tell me that COVID was organic, but you look at what was happening with repos and the banking industry in the end of 2019 and the momentum that Trump had in his first term. I mean, the market was going off the rails. People were making money. Everybody was loving it. Banks were way over leveraged. You know, it was going to come crashing down no matter what, you know, even if COVID didn't happen. But COVID gave them an excuse to
Great reset.
Yeah, man. Let's just add 30% to the money supply and just keep on pumping it. And who cares what happens down the line?
Right.
We've been kicking the can.
Keep kicking the can. That's what we do.
Yeah, man. So it's scary. I hope that whatever happens doesn't lead to what I know that they want, which is the whole, you know, digital currency. The digital currency's coming. It's just a matter of whether or not you are stuck with it, with a worthless dollar, and have to do what they give you, or you already have your own, you know, other pockets, other bags.
It comes down really to if it's going to be centrally controlled or if it's going to be truly, you know, on a blockchain and in our hands or theirs.
Yeah, the CBDC or whatever they had, they did a trial run a couple of years ago under Biden, right? And people didn't like it. You know, you never heard anything about it. The Federal Reserve did it, and it was like a 12-week thing or something. And I think that people just didn't like it, right? You know, people don't want something that's not. They want a decentralized. You know, they want a decentralized currency because it's been proven to work. You got Bitcoin, right? So like people will want that, and unless they have no other choice. And that's what makes me feel that they're definitely going to crash the system. I mean, the dollar's tanked, you know, and I've tried to tell everybody I know have assets and some other, you know, don't just have it in the dollar. Oh, but the market's doing great and it outperforms, and a failing currency is a failing currency. Like, you know, it doesn't matter. Yeah, you can have $1 billion in the bank, but the purchasing power. I mean, look at Zimbabwe, right? Look what happened to them in the 90s. Anyway, almost midnight, man.
Yeah. Now, shooting my quick predictions out, I'm with you right there with the war machine that's going to keep turning. Something's going to happen with Venezuela. Either we're going to end up in some sort of a direct confrontation with them, or, you know, one of those things where it'd really be a shame if a coup started in your country. Whatever it takes. Yeah.
It's almost so predictable, right? Like,
it's happened enough times by now. I don't think that it's absurd to say that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, you know, I think we're going to see an increase with BRICS. Anybody that's not keeping up with the BRICS thing really needs to look into that. They're growing a lot of momentum. They've got several other countries that have joined just this year. And ultimately, what they want to do is shift the world off of the petrodollar. And when that happens, that's lights out, kiddos. That's going to be the justification they need for some sort of a central bank digital currency, because the dollar will lose all of its value.
That's right, man. And I mean, and honestly, like, you know, it's not surprising to even think that that's what, you know, the last 25 years of the U.S. war machine has been doing. It's been fighting, you know, to maintain that petrodollar sovereignty, because they know. I mean, anybody who looks at economics can tell you, when it's priced differently. And I mean, I'm telling you, China, you know, they're an older civilization. I think they're fine with taking the slow moves or whatever. But some of the stuff I've seen recently with their drone technology and their humanoid robot, their little robot,
the robotics has gotten pretty wild. Their drones are terrifying.
Yeah. How fast? I mean, you know, when you can control 15,000 drones at one time to do what you want them to do. Imagine, you know, if that came down in your neighborhood or just a small town in America. I mean, what are you going to do against that? I mean, you know, it's like that. So they're definitely a force that's coming for us. We're going to have a reckoning with China at some point, and if they have other allies on their side, it's going to be tough. You know, it's going to be a terrible time till we reach some kind of equilibrium again.
Yeah, North Korea, Russia, and China. I mean, just those alone, which, you know, they've got their little group together there already. So you put Iran in that mix. There's several other countries, all the BRICS nations. I mean, the BRICS nations alone represent so much of the world GDP. They can completely shift the financial landscape for everyone. You know, if they get a coordinated effort, and God forbid we go to war against them. People like to think that we're better than any other country or the combined effort of any other country. I'm here to tell you we're not. We would have a very, very tough time dealing with just China. Yeah. If you add Russia on top of that, people like tend to forget Russia's never been beat. Like, they're undefeated at this war thing. They're damn good.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So we definitely don't want that. You know, I hope we don't have. I mean, I would love for us to have some kind of unifying thing that brought peace and harmony. I don't think it's just a pipe dream. I just think perhaps we're not ready as a species yet. We're not that mature yet. You know, we're still young,
figuring this thing out.
Yeah, man.
I'm looking at the clock here. We're counting down. I don't know if you've got it right up above on your screen at the top there. It should say, 1:54:25 right now. 1:55 will be hitting the midnight hour. So I want to go ahead and just thank everybody for joining us. It has been an absolute pleasure speaking with you, Stevo. As always, goodbye to this year. Honestly, I really pray that next year is going to be better. That's about the best we can hope for.
That's right, man. That's right.
All right, we're hitting that 10. We're going to do a countdown and then tell you guys bye. Right. I believe we've got almost there. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year's, everybody. Thank you so much for spending it with us. I hope you guys were entertained. I hope you had a good time. I know we got into some heavy stuff there at points. It's information, discussions that definitely need to be had. And I hope that maybe it sparks some of that with you and yours. And you guys, if you hear this at a different point, or if you hear this before you go out for New Year's, please be extra, extra safe, because definitely a dangerous night to be out in them streets. Take care. Stevo, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate you for it. The last episode that we did, it's one of the best performing episodes on the channel and always has been. So I know there are plenty of people that were happy to see you come back on here. And hopefully everybody had a good time listening to us ramble and rant this evening. Yeah. Thank you so much, man.
I enjoyed it, man. Just like old times. So, yeah. And Happy New Year to you, brother. I'm
looking forward to the next season. Absolutely. We'll get there very soon. If you haven't already, be sure to check out. We got a newsletter going out that's going to let you know when season 4 is coming on. It's going to keep you ahead of everything. There's tons of exclusive information that's only going to be in that newsletter. Go check that out if you can. The links are on the socials. If you haven't joined the Discord, this is another great place to get behind the scenes, to get files, document dumps for every episode. So be sure to check that out too. And give us a follow, like, and, review us if you're feeling generous on Spotify. But that's all the plugs. Really appreciate it. Thank you again so much, Steve. You have a wonderful 2026, and we'll talk again soon, buddy.
Thanks, man. All right, buddy. Appreciate it.
All right. Peace.